You are listening to Super Black. I am your host, Carl Waldron, and today we are talking about Duke Thomas, The Signal. Thank you all for listening to Super Black. Once again, I am your host, Carl Waldron. Please head over to super.black. That's the website, super.black, for all your Super Black needs. Tell your friends about the podcast. Listen, like, share. Do me a solid and get the word out. I would really appreciate it. Let's dive into it. So, I am a weird fan of Batman. And the reason I say that is because I have lots of opinions on the character. But ultimately, I do love the character. So much, I talk about Batman so much, people think he's my favorite superhero. He's not. Right? I don't think so. But in the pantheon of Batman, of course, and his, Bat family, as I like to call it, he has a cabal of young wards, I would say. There's, Nightwing, there's Batgirl, there's Robin, there's Alfred, and then there's Robin. I think I got all the Robins. But there is one Robin that people don't necessarily attribute to the Bat family, and that's Duke Thomas. Duke Thomas is a young black man who, after losing his parents at the hands of the Joker, does that sound familiar? He dons the Robin outfit and joins a gang of rebel teens to patrol Gotham City when Batman is away. The comic is known as We Are Robin. It's a great book, great read. Obviously, as with every comic, there are ridiculous parts in it, but the interesting part is the youth of Gotham take it upon themselves to patrol the streets and try and stop crime when Batman is incapacitated. No one's seen Batman, they don't know where he is. So Duke Thomas leads this group of teenagers who fight crime, and they all have variations on the Robin costume. Duke Thomas wears like a leather jacket with the R on it. There's like a kid in a football jersey that has the R on it. It's an interesting story. But out of all those Robins, Duke Thomas is the one who graduates from would-be vigilante to an actual vigilante. He goes off on his own, fights crime for a while, and then is invited into the Bat family to be trained by Batman so that he is an actual part of, Batman's stable. Turns out, Duke Thomas has powers. He got powers from his birth parents, a human, and I don't know what the other guy is, but he has a very funky name. It's Namon, probably a demon, but he gets his powers from both Namon and Nth Metal, which is a big part of... I'm getting really nerdy in this. It's part of, Dark Knight Metal? That storyline. It's another great storyline with like the Batman who laughs and all this stuff. It's wicked stuff. But the reason I bring up that he has powers is because he's the only one in the Bat family that has superpowers, making him an actual goodness superhuman hero within the Bat family, which can't be overstated. Now, there is a video game called Gotham Knights. It's coming out October 21st, 2022, as of this recording. In that game, again, Batman dies in the game. It's not a spoiler, it just happens. And upon his death, he christens the Bat family to go out into Gotham and protect the city now that Bruce is gone. Not only is Batman dead, but he announces that he is Bruce Wayne to Gotham City and the world. So in the game, you play as Nightwing, Batgirl, and I believe it's Damian, the Robin. And as the three members of the Bat family, who all have different controls and different fighting styles and whatnot, you patrol Gotham at night, and then in the day you gather clues as to what crimes are going to go down, and then the next night you go out and try and foil those crimes. It's a take on the Batman Arkham City games. It looks fine. I'm not here to critique the game, but what I am here to critique is the fact that Duke Thomas is not in it. There is a specific reason why I think it's a glaring hole in the roster, and it has nothing to do with Duke Thomas's race. It has everything to do with Duke Thomas's powers. Duke Thomas has light and dark powers, as in he can control light and darkness. He can push darkness away from him. He can envelop things in shadow. He can make himself the brightest thing around. He has photokinesis, which he uses to manipulate light and how he processes light. He can see shadows. He can see like the ghosts of light, as in like the remnants of light and where it used to be. So he can essentially look back in time and see what's happened a couple minutes prior. He can also perceive where the light has gone, so he can see into the future to see where the light ended up. He can bathe things in darkness so that people can't see anything. He has, and then couple that with the training that he gets from Bruce, he is a formidable member of the Bat family. I believe he's now part of the Outsiders, which is led by Black Lightning, another Super Black alum. So the reason I bring this up is because Duke Thomas's powers allow him to have a story-driven reason to have the detective vision that Batman had in the Arkham City games. There was a part of the Arkham games is that Batman would, put down a visor over his eyes, and you would be able to see clues. You would be able to see through walls. You'd be able to see cracks in walls. You'd be able to see your enemies in X-rays, so you knew where they were. You can see their vital points. You can see how scared they were. It's a very OP thing to give a video game. It was basically the win button. You can just sit there in detective mode and just take in the entire surroundings and then execute your crazy plan, which is, fine. It's fun. But Duke Thomas can do that without a suit. He has X-ray vision. He can see through walls with his light powers. He has telescopic vision. He can see very far. Duke Thomas' power set is built perfectly for the Batman games, the Gotham Knight game. And he's nowhere to be found. Now, obviously, he's not a very well-known member of the Bat family, the same as Batwing or even Batman, who, Lucius Fox's son. They're just, I would say the B team. They don't get the same shine that a Batgirl or a Robin or a Nightwing does. But it feels like Duke Thomas is an amazing asset to that group, more so than Nightwing, who's just, a dude. And of course, the Bat family has always been the pinnacle of human achievement, right? They're rich, they're awesome fighters, they're peak physical specimens. They take on the gods, they fight Superman and Darkseid and all these people, and they win. That's what the Bat family does, specifically Batman, but also, by proxy, Nightwing and Robin and Batgirl. Why Batgirl's still such a weird name. Anyway, but Duke Thomas has honest to goodness metahuman powers. You would think he would get a little bit more attention in the group. I believe they shuffled him. I I believe they moved him over to the Outsiders to keep him out of the limelight with the Bat family. He kind of overshadows them, no pun intended, given his shadow abilities. But let's talk a little bit about what or how Duke Thomas actually looks outside of his Robin gear. His eventual Signal gear is very Bat focused, but because he is able to manipulate light, Duke Thomas operates during the day, whereas Batman would operate during the night. He wears a bright yellow costume with a giant white bat on his chest. And he rocks these like tonfa style batons that are connected with a rope while wielding his powers and whooping everybody's tail with his Batman style of fighting. His ability to hunt, I was going to say evil, his ability to hunt evil in the light of day makes him another valued asset to the Bat team, especially in the Gotham Knights game, because in that game, there is a day-night cycle that, Nightwing, Batgirl, and Robin operate at night, but in the day, you're just gathering clues for the next night. How amazing would it be if Duke Thomas, you were able to then go out during the day and gather clues as the Signal? You could do the things that they couldn't do during the day. Fight crime, get those clues, bring it back to the Watchtower, and then hand it over to the rest of the crew to go out at night. I don't know. I love games with black leads, and I would love if a character like Duke Thomas was represented in the Gotham game. Again, I think not just because I'm not saying put him in the game because he's black. I'm saying put him in the game because he's dope. And it gives the game a little bit more depth when you have both, Duke Thomas rocking it in the daytime while the rest of the crew rocks it at night. I'm sure they had a lot to juggle. I bet they didn't even think about adding Duke Thomas. Or I could be wrong, and maybe down the line they actually do implement him. I don't know. Maybe they'll do the Injustice 2 thing and make him a skin for Robin or Nightwing or something. Who knows? At this point, sometimes we just got to take what we can get with DC. But that being said, Duke Thomas is an amazingly cool character that I implore you to go look up. He's got an interesting backstory. The We Are Robin tale is fun. I enjoyed it very much. Outside of the weird robot Batman, which you'll run into, and his powers are pretty significant, So I still have not read The Outsiders with leader Black Lightning and how Signal fits in, but after this, I am going to go look that up. Sadly, I can't purchase it due to a number of factors. One being Comixology and Amazon no longer allow digital comic purchases, and there's no comic book store around me anymore. So I'm gonna have to do some ordering, and it's gonna take a while to get here. But that being said, I am gonna read it because The Outsiders is an interesting team up group that maybe we should do an episode about them, or I'll rope it into our eventual episode of the other history of the DC universe. A great series of comics. One of them is focused around Black Lightning. So we covered kind of Duke Thomas, who he is, his power set. We didn't even cover everything his powers does, but it's just good to know that he's trained by Batman. He has nth metal running through his blood. He might be immortal. His father has infinite blood or something like that. That's what it's called. Or can't really remember all the stuff that he has. But he might be an immortal just based on that. So he has some, he has the DC stamp of superhuman approval, as in DC heroes don't die, and they usually have some. This might be a mandate inside the DC style guide that superheroes with superpowers they have to have some weird contingency within them that allows them to live forever. Like Superman, he absorbs enough sunlight, he'll never age and he won't die. And Batman just never seems to die for whatever reason. Batman Beyond did a great job of saying, instead of it being that Bruce doesn't die, the mantle of Batman gets passed on from generation to generation. And now Duke Thomas, he has infinite blood from his, whatever demon father, so he can't die, potentially. So there's always like an out. Flash can't die. Flash does die, but Flash doesn't have to die. He'll fall into the Speed Force or something. Or same with the Green Lantern. Like they'll get transported back to the Lantern and then reconstituted somehow. It's a common trope with DC, but it's funny just to think about the writers going, how do we write in that Duke Thomas is an immortal? How do we make it so that he becomes a superhero forever, that he can't die? And of course, there are always storylines where heroes die, but it's never forever. Injustice 2, one of my favorite DC stories, for the sheer balls that the writers have to just kind of off various heroes and villains at will, is great for that. They kill off so many different villains and characters and heroes and whatnot, and then bring some of them back randomly. They just pop back up. It's like, I was saved. I was in the such and such realm, and I'm back. It's bizarre. But now Duke Thomas is in that pantheon of immortal heroes. So maybe one day, maybe in Gotham Knights 2, we'll get a day-night cycle where the day cycle we have maybe Duke Thomas and some of the outsiders. Maybe Black Lightning. And I don't even know who else is in the outsiders right now. But perhaps we'll get a game where we get to play as Duke Thomas with his built-in detective sense. I don't have a recommendation other than We Are Robin. I've said the recommendations, actually. We Are Robin, the new Outsiders with Black Lightning and The Signal, and we even did an original. We did AKA a Forge. We haven't done one of those in years, literally. But, I would love a game where you get to do all of Duke Thomas's powers the same way you can do them in Batman Arkham City, which is one of the greatest video games, maybe not ever made, but definitely the last 20 years. If you haven't played it, or if you don't play games, I would suggest trying out Arkham City, the Arkham games. They're really good. You get to be Batman. There's no other game where you get to be Batman as that. So yeah, we kind of covered everything. We're getting out of here a little quick. All things considered, I think we did a pretty good job giving Duke Thomas some shine. I wish there was more media that I can show of Duke Thomas, but here we are. So hopefully someone at WB hears this and they greenlight a Duke Thomas version of the Gotham Knights game. That's all I got for today. I have to get out of here. I'm currently vibrating with pre-workout. It's time to do some lifts. Got to take care of yourself. So thank you for listening. Follow us on socials. You can find the podcast on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Head over to super.black for the rest of our content. And thank you for your support. Remember, I appreciate you. Until we talk next time. Full stop.